We reward psychopathy in leadership, and until we change that, getting diverse actors into those positions to do the same thing is not changing it. And this is why I'm so passionate about identifying the unwritten rules and how they impact people in business. Because we're rewarding psychopathy and calling it leadership, and those aren't the same thing. And I really sucked at explaining that this week, and I think I offended another white woman doing this, because white women are like the picture of this, because there's like still a huge gap between white men and white women and who has top leadership positions. But because we're the second group, we are the face of this, of getting into positions and still being a problem. And I offended another white woman, I think, this week in preparing for a webinar on women in leadership, particularly in tech. And I didn't mean to, I was just not explaining well. And I was like, yes, we need more women in leadership because we're not conditioned the same way as men. And both of the other two women on the call were like, well, some of the worst leaders I've had are women. And I've talked about this too on my channel. And I was like, yes, agreed. We need more women in there. We just need to also be like cognizant of like what I'm all about is helping my coachees navigate, move up the ladder, but not to forget who they are and what they stand for, and to like use their influence to change the ladder. That's my whole thing. That's why the beginning of my coaching program is on identifying what you will do and what you won't do and what you're flexible on. Start there, because the rest of the unwritten rules we're not going to be able to get to until we've come to terms with what is a change that is like I can live with. What is a change that's going to either harm me or others? But it was the end of the day, and I'm in England, so it was later for me than it was for these people in the States. And I did not know these women, and neither of them are psychologists, so don't think I was defining well the difference of understanding leadership as a construct and like what we hold as leadership abilities and not leadership positions, if that makes sense. And I was like, we need to get women into power who aren't going to adhere to these psychopathic tendencies. And one of them just went on like a rant about like not throwing in the towel. And my neurodivergent ass was like, if I was throwing in the towel, I wouldn't have just written a book on all of this. Like it was not clicking for me. And it was totally all on me of trying to talk about something very nuanced and starting at step like 7 and not 0. And yeah, it was a hot mess. I've talked about this book before, Why Do So Many Incompetent Men Become Leaders and How to Fix It. It's written by a man, and I realize the irony of talking about that while supporting women, but also we need male allies or things aren't going to change because men have power. He's in a similar field that I am, and he talks about all the research showing that like we don't reward leadership or things that benefit business, we reward psychopathy. And because he only says men, but it's really white men are allowed to show that behavior more than anybody else, that's who gets into and stays in power. I don't know why my green screen is acting up. My whole TikTok is acting up lately. I can't even stitch anybody anymore. It's so dumb. And I really appreciated this because my research on the unwritten rules of work always looks at what are we rewarding? What are the rules that people who don't know when they're from lower income backgrounds or they're neurodivergent and race and gender intersections there? And how is it impacting people and business? And my work has also found we're not rewarding the things that actually benefit business. And we're really only able to get away with this because of shareholder capitalism. Because the shareholders are passing around money, going in and leaving, and they're doing fine. But that doesn't mean those businesses survive, and the leaders of those businesses survive. And that's really important to know, people. But this is a really good book. It's really short too. I think the audiobook was less than 5 hours. It's one of my favorites. If you go to my Dr. K Reads playlist, you've seen I've made several videos about this. If you want to read it, you can go to the link in my bio and go to my bookshop link where you can order it, and a small commission goes to me and an independent Black and woman-owned bookstore in DC.